the word, it kind of makes people uncomfortable, especially women, and that word is submissive. Okay? So as a woman, as a wife, Allie, what does it mean to be submissive?
So the word submissive has a negative connotation on it. So what would probably be more digestible for women's ears would be willful cooperation. If your man has a good program and it's trusted, proven, and justified authority in that relationship, authority with responsibility because he's responsible for the outcomes of the relationship. If you have that, you're naturally going to follow. And that's the thing about it is some women talk about, high value man. There's a lot of different components to masculinity. I can say for certain that I don't worry about my physical safety in the presence of my husband at all.
He's a strong dude. I met that guy. He shook my hand real strong. I was like, all right, buddy.
Yes, he's a trained fighter, and he's also trained with weapons. So
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about that. So of course I'm like, let me get with this program. This program is awesome. I'd like the subscription to last for the rest of my life. And that's what women don't want to hear, but because they haven't had experience with it because they can't keep a man. But the thing about submission itself is that it has a really convoluted understanding. Your man that you quote unquote submit to, willful cooperation, you willfully cooperate with him, he has to have something bigger than himself. That is the goal. And some people break it down to religion, like that's fabulous. But I know for my relationship, my husband is not a believer, but he believes in the greater good of humanity and society. So he's always trying to do good in the world. So I don't have to worry about him going mad with power. And that's also a weird narrative that women come up with. They're like, well, what's going to happen if you give a man power? Well, like they gave us Wi-Fi and air conditioning. I think they're doing great with power.
Well, and because they picked the wrong men to give power to. So they put that on all men. So it's like, again, they're putting your poor choices on all of us. Just because you can't find a man to submit to doesn't mean we can't.
So,
right, and it's argumentative women that they struggle with submission because women that are coming from two-parent households, well-rounded, I live in the Midwest, I know a lot of women that understand that when there is trusted, proven, and justified authority, they're like, yes, I would like your help. I'm going to go with the flow on this one. But like, women just don't want to be honest that like you're not fun to be around. People are tired of arguing with you. People are not fighting over your invitation at the party. They would rather you didn't go.
Well, and a lot of like more feminine girls, we prefer it. Like I hate making decisions. Like honestly, like I hire a couple people now and like I hate it. It's it's so against my personality. If I could just have someone like do that part of the job for me, I would prefer it. Like it is so much easier as a girl like working for someone than it is like having like managing all these people.
So she used, instead of the word submissive, willful cooperation.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm so confused by that term.
Okay.
Well,
so
yeah, I would figure you're very successful. Yes.
Yes.
So it would be hard to imagine applying that work ethic, but in a relationship.
I'm still confused.
Do you think you can explain?
No, break it down. So
do you not understand the willful cooperation or the submission?
Willful cooperation.
Willful cooperation.
I'm like Croatian, so.
Okay. So
Simple it.
So basically, it's giving your man authority, which is not something that's often done in society.
But give
today.
me an example.
Okay, so you're getting dressed, and your dress is a little bit provocative. Maybe you're a little bit ignorant on it. He says, honey, you're showing a little bit much. I don't know if you're aware. Do you mind changing? Like, would you argue with him, or would you put on a different dress?
If I think the dress looks hot, I would wear it.
Yeah, well, that's making it about you and not your relationship. That's the opposite of willful cooperation.
Okay, so that's not me.
Yeah.
okay, so let's stay there for a second because I've dated some girls that look good in dresses and maybe they looked a little too good. And I was like, the whole honey, does this make my butt look good? Oh, hell yeah, whatever. But you're saying, as a man, hey, babe, a little much. I don't feel comfortable with this. Would you mind changing? You would change.
I would absolutely change. And it's not just about the impression that I would have out there on the world. It's protection. Because I could get the wrong kind of attention from an unhinged man.
And what would happen if you get some attention from a man?
From a man that I don't want the attention from? I'm being sexualized by a stranger. I don't want that.
But what do you mean by attention? Somebody looking at you that like...
Men are going to look. They always look.
So what? Let them look. What?
I don't want to be sexualized by someone that's not my husband.
Okay, so why do you post stuff online? I'm sure some guys watch your stuff.
Have you scrolled through my Instagram?
A little.
It's pretty kosher. Like, okay. There's some weirdos out there, I'm sure.
And when you're with a guy, you represent him. So I would never want to wear something that's like embarrassing to a dude.
No, I agree with that. I would never wear something inappropriate for a situation. But if a guy, like, I usually tell my boyfriend to choose my outfits just because he has good style. Like, he has good taste. So, like, he would never, I'm personally not like a vulgar person.
So what I'm saying is like if he deemed it inappropriate, like submitting is trusting his judgment, and so
No, I trust. If submitting is trusting a guy's judgment, then I agree with it.
But you wouldn't in that situation because you said no. I would still wear what I want.
If I felt that my outfit is appropriate for the occasion,
right? But that's what submitting is. It's saying even though I think it's appropriate, I'm going to trust my man to make that decision.
Okay.
But is that a slippery slope right there? Meaning,
I have a question.
When does the submission part start? Meaning, we've been dating for 3 months, 6 months. Does it start when you're official? Does it start when you're married? Meaning, if you've only been with a guy for a couple months and he's like, hey, would you mind changing? I kind of get Coco's perspective. Like, I don't know you like that, buddy.
Are you dating?
But if this is if this is your husband, according to Ali, go ahead and change, baby.
Are you dating with intention or are you dating just to date is the question. Because
define the difference.
So if you're dating with like the expressed intention on both parties to get married, okay, like you have to show him what you're gonna do in the marriage.
Okay.
So like some people just date to have fun and date around. Like I can understand not submitting to a guy if you're just dating to date, but if you want to get married, like you have to show that guy what he's gonna get when he marries you. You're like,
Coco, your response.
No, I had a question for her. So I feel like you're a very family-oriented person, right? You have a big family. What would happen? Let's say you get married to a guy, and 5 years into the marriage, he gets into a huge fight with one of your family members, and he's like, I never want to go to your house again. What would you do?
wow, that's a really good question.
Thank you.
I wouldn't choose a guy that would get between me and my family.
That's not my question. Let's say maybe there was an event, maybe people, I don't know if you guys are drinking or not, maybe there was a party.
Something's going to happen.
Something happened.
Yeah, okay. If he was my husband, I would trust his judgment.
So you would not speak to your family ever again because of your husband?
Well, you said one family member.
Okay, maybe. Okay.
Like one we can lose. There's like 9 others.
like I would hope.
Like with your dad. I see you're very close to your dad. If your dad gets into a fight with your husband, what would you do?
If my dad got into a fight with my husband.
Maybe because you were very submissive, and I don't know what's your family situation. I don't want to like.
Well, I let my dad vet the guys that I date, actually.
But
so
I agree with that too. But things can happen down the line, like 5 years in, maybe.
And my dad doesn't drink either, so it's a little different.
Okay,
this is a hypothetical,
but
it is. You said it's what?
I think that's more of an exception argument. Well, what if? What
Yeah,
if?
No,
like
but it's not an if because
at the end of the day,
relationships and family are going to fight.
At the end of the day, like I would, if it was my husband, I would trust my husband over my family, especially if that's someone I have a child with.
Okay.
Like that's your husband. That's who you pegged. I mean,
do you
I
feel
would
differently,
I would
Koko?
do everything.
Absolutely.
I would do everything in my power to like make that work out.
Got it. What are your thoughts?
Obviously, whatever the situation would be, I would try to use my own judgment first, and I would try to listen to both sides. But I see a lot luckily I don't have this in my family, but I hear a lot of people have issues like, oh, I hate my mother-in-law, or I can't stand my, somebody in my husband's family. And it becomes like a really big issue. And it's always like a weird situation when you come into somebody's home if you're not okay with, the rest of the family.
So what would you do differently? How would you handle that?
I really don't know.